Good night, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. I am in the middle of the night here. It's a full moon, and it's the Lionsgate portal. So I'm not sure if y'all know what that is, and I think I'll explain more at the end so that anyone that already knows what it is doesn't have to get a whole preach about that. I have stuff to share because okay, one thing is that today I've heard my higher self. It's for me, it's like a thought that comes into my mind. It's very straightforward, and I'm speaking about it because it helps me to be very clear. And I was doing a Lionsgate kind of like a ritual or a ceremony. I'm not sure how I would call it, with my friend. I live in the northeastern parts of the Netherlands, and wait, where's my green light over there? Hey there. So glad you're here. I went to a stone circle, which we have a lot of here in the northeast of the Netherlands. And I made a video a while ago about having FOMO, so I would have otherwise been in Amsterdam. And I found it just really sweet that instead of having FOMO this year about being in Amsterdam, I was actually here in the northeastern, Netherlands, in Drenthe, is what this province is called. And it has such huge energy, like with these stone circles. And my friend and I were there, and there were other people that came and went, but it was pretty much we could do our own thing. And as I was saying, I could hear my higher self's voice. Let me actually check where this green light is exactly. Hello. Oh, there you go. Okay. Hey. So the Lionsgate portal is about the star Sirius. So it's the brightest star in our sky. In other times, it would have been much brighter and therefore much more important to civilizations that were around at that time, especially the Egyptians and the Maya. They both, well, the Egyptians maybe like more longer ago than the Egyptians now, but you know, that culture that we all find so beautifully mysterious. Anyway, so Sirius is the brightest star in our sky, and at some point I have heard people say that it was brighter than our sun. It's like, whoa. That's wild. But yeah, our like where we are in the solar system. No. So where our solar system is in the larger galaxy that it is in, it seems that like when we're at so just like our Earth revolves around the sun, so I guess it's like our galaxy revolves around the central sun of our galaxy. No, our solar system revolves around the central sun of our galaxy, and then there's a even bigger system, I suppose, and there's these cycles that we go through. I think they're called yugas, and then in 25,000 years, our solar system is like revolving around the central sun, but then it takes like in a whole different stretch of time, I guess we're making this other movement, and yeah, so somehow in that way, this star Sirius has been much more prominent in our history. All right. But the Lionsgate portal is, yeah, the Sirius. It is. I guess I just told you now what I know about it. Also, it's the middle of the night. I'm just making excuses. So yeah, listening to the voice of my higher self, it's definitely not really a voice, but a very cold kind of thought. Um, for me, it doesn't seem like something weird, like a new voice came into my head and started telling me what to do. It's like something that's been present all of my life. And since I started learning about spirituality, I've gone all the wonky ways in um, hearing all kinds of things, because then I had to filter everything that was going on in my mind and filter what are my emotions and what is thoughts and what when are they influencing each other. So yeah, um so I think it's like an unraveling of what isn't uh the higher self voice. So um yeah, I was in this stone circle, and I have done a lot of ceremony also as in the role of priestess. um I like to nowadays say in the role of, because what's who what is really our identity, you know. I do modeling work, and then I'm in the role of model, um like fashion model or whatever, beauty model or something. uh but I but it gets a bit tricky when we kind of make that into our identity, right? Yeah, it's like the ego saying, yeah, that's mine, that's, look at me, I'm so great. Because my I made a video about all the mistakes I made. And yeah, that's hard for the ego to regulate around. But it's just as true. Yeah, so I'm gonna get a little bit into that, because that's gonna be emotionally challenging for me, but also it's such a growth. It's such a growth when we're able to acknowledge the things we did wrong, or that we would have wished we'd done different, or that we're still um, just learning, learning and muddy and messy with. Yeah. So a really wonderful thing about hearing your higher self is like um, being able to say like, all right, I let go. I I now have this inner authority that just tells me what to do. That is very wonderful, and also you know, you still have a responsibility to do the right thing. So it doesn't mean that now you're not being, you can't be held accountable. Like, you know, like if you mess up something or you come too late and then you say, well, my higher self told me to do it. Like, no. Like, I'm sorry, I'm late. Yeah, I don't know. I just had to say that. um, oh my gosh, here are the stone circles in Drenthe. Stone circles, you should read the book The Memory Code, and then have a, it's by Lynne Kelly. She's an Australian writer. She writes a lot about scientific subjects, and she tried to write a book about spiders. I think that's how it started. And then she realized that who knows a lot about spiders? And then she had, I guess, interviews with Aboriginal people. And then she was like, wait, these Aboriginal people, and like the amount of knowledge that they have is just blowing her away. So after she wrote that book, she went back and she's like, what? Why do you know so much? How does that happen? How? And they were telling her, yeah, it's very normal that, so I'm paraphrasing because I forget the exact numbers. So they were saying like it's very normal for an indigenous person to know 7 languages fluently, 800 types of plants, 400 types of animals, 600 types of insects, to know all the families and the relationships between all those, to know all of their habitats, their ways of life, what they eat, what their seasons are. And all of that is intertwined in their worldview. But this sheer amount of knowledge that they had, and she was like, what? How do you even fit that in your head? And so she was so curious about this, and she went all around the world, I guess, interviewing other indigenous people, and they seem to all have the same memory system. And actually, as I understand it, the Aboriginal people were telling her, you must now write about this memory system because it's very important. It's how we are indigenous. It's the oral traditions and how they are passed along, and it's having that kind of knowledge. I'm just saying something that I think, but because I'm not sure if those people would say that, but like the way of passing on the knowledge is what one of the criteria of what it means to be indigenous, not as like a wow, what a fact, but because of how that works. I know I went on a tangent right now. Because of talking about these stones, these stone circles. So I will talk a lot more about that. If you want to really be hear about this, I am going to be talking about this on my other channel. It's called Joan Coolman. It's my actual name. Yeah, on that channel I'm going to be talking about also my pilgrimage, yeah, how to connect with the landscape. It's not really a how-to, but how I'm discovering, and this is part of that story. So yeah, and those stories are they're not about me, but about what I'm bringing into the world. I mean, it's always going to be through this, I'm never going to be somewhere else. So, but it's more dedicated to the pilgrimage and to some of the other things that I've done or do. Yeah. So basically what she's also said about stone circles, and for example Stonehenge, is that there's ways in which the stones are positioned, and it'll her theory is that it comes from like this oral traditions, what they actually really need in order to have a continued line of oral transmission of the knowledge is one landscape, and the primary way in which they remember stories is the idea of the memory palace. So walking through the landscape, programming all of their stories onto recognizable objects in the landscape, and then being able to retell those stories generation after generation. Um, so this is the primary way that all indigenous traditions use. And of course, the landscape also speaks back. So there's this real relationship that is built over time. And imagine, like, the Aboriginals, they've now proved that they have oral traditions that are unbroken for 10,000 years. 10,000 years. Like Western civilization, 2,000 years? Counting Persian, like Indo-European, or well, let's just say Persian and Middle Eastern and Persian, then we go like 4,000 years maybe. I mean, there's much older ones, but we don't know everything that's what that is, and it's not oral tradition. It's written. Of our oral traditions, yeah, I think there must be secret societies that have kept these oral traditions alive, but it's very, very difficult if you don't have a lot of people that are able to just transmit the knowledge orally in public. Like, if it has to be secret, it gets very, very difficult because, I mean, you know. So this is quite a big story, the memory code, because when you understand really how this works, then you understand how these lines get broken when people get displaced from their land and when they're not allowed to speak their language. Then they lose thousands, possibly thousands of years of knowledge of how to survive, of how their culture functions, of all the wisdom that has been passed down. I mean, I feel like Westerners, and being completely conditioned in a Western mindset, we really look at the world thinking that the way that we do it is best. And it's such a fart. It's such a fart. Like, when you realize how these oral traditions work and the wisdom that you gain from thousands of years of transmission, and then thinking that from linear script that you can learn more. That's just insane. Also, a lot of oral traditions say that things shouldn't be written. And I'm not saying that things shouldn't be written down, because what do I know? But I'm just, like, I'm fascinated, right? And also because I've experienced the difference between, like, African cultures and European cultures. There's a huge difference. You go to African cultures, you get, like, sucked into, like, your whole body. You go to European cultures, you get sucked into your head. But yeah, doing the pilgrimage, I actually get back into my body. So I'm very happy that I was intuitively drawn, and, like, my higher self kicked me on that route. My higher self is not like it's very harsh. It's very like, now we're doing this. And, like, yeah. Who knows? Maybe that'll change when I become nicer and nicer to myself, but where was I? Yeah, I am getting back to the stone circles. So basically the importance of, yes, like, when things get written down, that's linear knowledge. uh, so like, yeah, of course we know writing is from left to right, or if you're Arabic, maybe you go from right to left. I'm not sure. I forget. And Chinese also do it a different way. All right, maybe it's Chinese. Anyway, but it's like going in one direction, right? And a story will start at point A and end at point Z or B or whatever. But actually, oral traditions, they would say, in this book, The Memory Code, it's like they say that linear stories are for the young children. That's like when you grow up, you're supposed to get the cyclical stories. So they'll build on the linear stories that now everyone knows, like all the nursery rhymes, and we all had those. So uh it builds on like layers on top of the linear stories, and then as you grow older, you of course realize that life is cyclical, and so the stories are cyclical. And they also said that they don't have um, really problems with dementia, because old people are always like symbolically, let's say, I don't know if it's literally, probably literally, but like sitting by the fire, hearing the repeating of the stories, like every year they have all these rituals that repeat the story. Oh my gosh. And another thing about these stories, these myths, so Lynne Kelly um, wrote another book. So the Memory Code book came out in 2017, and then after, like, people were like so shocked, like all the Westerners like were like, what, this is a different worldview, and it's pragmatic, and this is how you do it. And then everyone was like, well, how do you do it exactly? And so she published another book called Memory Craft. And by the way, when she published Memory Code and she asked the Aboriginals that had helped her, right, to get all the information, she asked them if, if she had represented their knowledge in a correct way. And apparently they were like, yeah, it's fine, white lady, we've been trying to tell you guys for like 200 years, so get with the plan. You all need to learn this. Like, you're sending the earth into oblivion for like all of these species are dying because you don't understand this. Like, we need to balance like humanity with earth. And yeah, trying to tell the white people this information, and they just kept, yeah, you know how white people do. They kind of look down on anything that's not white, and they're like, oh, they're talking funny and I don't understand them, they must be primitive. It's like, it couldn't be like more the other way around. Of course, technology, yes, and the very like overdeveloped brain, and maybe that's had to happen. I'm not sure for like development of our human species, but now please, let's be this genius species that has a developed brain, but is also going back to this earthly thing where we recognize how much potential we now have. The earth is still here. We still, like, I know it's 5 past 12, like 3 past 12, and we're all like on the brink of extinction. So no time better than now. And another really, really funny thing, you're gonna just laugh your head off, or like, I've been talking about mushrooms, right? So mushrooms are all about the shits. I once said like spirituality is like how you deal with shit. It's like, how good are you at recognizing your shit, at composting that shit, and like growing now in the right way or with more nutrients, like because you've processed the shit, so you're getting wise. Like, you don't get wise without like dealing with the shit. So I always felt like like the circle. I'm sorry, I'm going really, this is really rogue, but this is me. Okay, you know how like the circle is, even doing this, I'm like, you know how like the circle is um the sign of eternity, and that everything that is able to be wise and reinvent itself over and over and become this harmonious um, entity or community that is represented by the circle, right? And I always felt like the asshole being a circle, the sphincter being this circular like muscle, being like one of the most important symbols of like deal with the shit, deal with the shit. I think like the asshole is the most spiritual part of our body. I don't it's probably not true, but I think because we all like shun, like, oh no, poop, oh get away from it, oh it's smelly, oh anything that's like that. um People kind of try to run away from, or shame, or all those things, and I get it, it is very smelly, don't like don't put it in your mouth, like you don't want to do that, but you know but things that are oh, my throat is closing. It's very hard for me to talk about this. Uh, Things that are very taboo, and that in my body I go like, why is it taboo? We gotta find out about this stuff, because we probably gotta know more about this, and it's funny, and there's energy there, and like, yeah, I'm sorry if I disgusted you just now. Well, there we go. Swamp creatures. For sure. If we're talking about swamp creatures um in my last, no, well, maybe I didn't publish it. I'm not sure if it's the one about all the mistakes I made. Oh no, it's energy mechanics. Yeah, like our basement is filled with all of these monsters that we refuse to acknowledge are just part of us. And if we could get to know these monsters and know how to embrace them, they would give us like the wisdom of the world. Oh yeah, and now I'm coming back to, you're gonna love this. This is gonna make your, this is why I started on the whole asshole thing. This is like gonna make your asshole just like like go so I have to check if my curtain's closed. Here I am sitting in the middle of the night just giggling all by myself. It's gonna make your asshole giggle. Okay, so you know how a lot of mythology is like, um the stories are so epic, and like the tragedy, it's like, and the the sex, and the like the villains are so horrible, and yeah, so Lynne Kelly, she started trying out these methods that she had then learned, and she wrote them all in this book, Memory Craft, right? um but she realized that uh, the more um, like soap-like the stories are, the more like you feel like engaged, the more sexy, and like things that you almost, like your imagination just going wild, and like engaging all of your emotions and all of your feelings, like that's so bad, I can't believe you thought that. And it's like, I'm never going to forget that, because like it's in my system of liveliness. So that is why mythology is so wild. It is not because they literally believed that, um like what is one, I don't know, maybe they didn't, I don't, I can't, I don't really have an example. I can only think of like all the rape stories in Greek mythology. Like, please, you know, I'm too sensitive right now for those things, but like Zeus turning himself into a bull and like raping Europa, um, yeah, like you don't forget that shit, you know. Um, anyway, so I'm a little bit prudish, I know, but I'm not about shit. I'm not prudish about shit. Okay, so I'm getting back to um, the stone circles. You are getting such a like a story for this. I keep having Dutch words in my mouth, in my mind, in my mouth. um, in Dutch, we say smeuig, or at least I do. And smeuig is like this smooth, like when it's creamy, yeah. And so it's like when details are so creamy, you're like, that tastes good, or that's like, oh, you just slipped into this story, and it's like you shouldn't go there, but it's so creamy, you know. What's a nice English word for that? Um, okay, anyway. So, when Lynne Kelly wrote about the memory code, uh, she writes about Stonehenge, she writes about Easter Island, um, all of these places that have these incredible monuments left by prehistoric peoples or ancient peoples. And she realized that the way that the indigenous peoples see, you know, like what she learned from the Aboriginals, that there wasn't a really good story around how these ancient stone sites and circles are being seen. So one of the things that she did explain was that all of these stone circles, they usually are made with rock with a lot of quartz. Now there is a lot online also about how now we're realizing that a lot of these places have um, uh, like the way that sound frequencies interact with quartz is something very specific. Like it'll raise like the energy of, I'm sure I'm like botching like how I should actually explain this. And for me, it's like in my mind, like I see like sound waves, and then the quartz is reflecting that like very um like conducting that kind of sound or reflecting the sound waves in a very clear way. And so when it's set in a circle, it's not only like sound waves, like if people are chanting or, you know, doing mantra, but it would also be like the electrical and the magnetic fields. As I understood it, like the center of a field will be electric. It'll have like a peak, like a masculine, this electric, and then around that will be, when the electric is on the like being raised on the inside, then it'll create by like the opposite of that, uh, like high pressure and low pressure with clouds. I don't know what that was. Will create the magnetic field around. So that is the same, I guess, as what the Hindus have with the yoni and the lingam. It's like the lingam is this standing up principle. Of course, we see a phallus. Yeah, duh. And the yoni is like the surrounding womb space. So the yoni is a vagina, but of course it's the whole principle of receptiveness. And the phallus symbol in the symbology in the lingam is the electrical. Even the sun and the moon are are like that. So this is the thing with spirituality and a lot of how these principles all come together in a lot of cultures that say like the same things but in different words and maybe slightly different symbology. um, that there are these, that everything is polarity, so light and dark. Like we made it into something more like morality and like good and bad, but in fact, um, in order for us to exist, there needs to be polarity. There needs to be positive and negative charge, like the weather, high pressure, low pressure, and they operate together. And life exists because there is tension between the two. So yeah, stone circles. And then another thing that she said is that they will always choose stones that are very recognizable, that don't look alike. And it'll often happen that these circles will be created by peoples that are now not staying in one place, so they can't, so they have their they can't retain their um, like encyclopedia of knowledge by having their stories located in one landscape. And so they have to find this way of taking the knowledge with them. So the idea was that they would, as soon as they found the place that where they settled down, they would create these places that mean a lot to them. So probably the landscape would also show them, like they would feel the energies of places. Like we can't even begin to conceive how the ancients were connected to the landscape, even because it was a different time, so the energies would have been different. But even like among, like, I think it's like 20% of people nowadays are um, highly sensitive people. I consider myself as extremely sensitive person. So some of you might as well be. Hello, I see you. And think about how much we feel already, and think about if you are embedded into a culture that all the stories, everything you know is about your atmosphere, like you're about your environment. And now imagine just walking around and like being like, yeah, you would feel the energies everywhere. So yeah, they would have chosen a place to then create their encyclopedia and program onto these stones all the stories, and they would have rituals to approach the stones, to see the stories and the different shapes of the stone. They would have like a sequence of, first you go to this stone and then to that stone and then to that stone. And when you see these stone circles, there's always like a very defined spacing, so that you're never in front of one stone, like more than one stone. You can take a breather in between and then you go to the next stone. And there's lots of things about this. There's the theatrics, like creating the story, making it bigger, having spaces to make a lot of trance like music, to get really into a trance state. Like, these things work. This is why ritual is just so I did a ritual today. Yeah, ritual is when you when you have a way to let your mind know that now we're gonna do this other thing, and I'm showing you this thing that the mind recognizes. We're gonna change, we're gonna go into a different state of mind. And you would do a thing, like you would say a certain thing, or you would or you would make certain sounds, or you would stand in a certain place, or you would make hand gestures so that your body is recognizing, oh, now we're going to go into this other thing. Us humans are really like, we are entrained and hypnotized all the time. That is the way that our mind works. That's why I was so amazed when the internet came about and Instagram and then TikTok, and you get all these memes. And I was like, there's something so fascinating about this, because video, especially now, like brings us closer again into contact with our hypnotic nature, you know, linear thoughts, and the way that book like our school books are written, like super dry, you know, um, just knowledge going from A to B, and you must now compound all of this knowledge in this way. That's actually not how our brain is designed to work. Um, yeah, a hypnotherapist once told me, like, in a way, you should realize that we are always in one or another form of trance. And so ritual, I'm sorry, I just dropped that. We are always in one form or another form of trance. Yeah. So being glued to your screen is a form of trance. Yeah, people are starting to understand algorithms and memes, because we are creatures that conform to hypnotic states of trance. So this is why you need your consciousness. You need to be awake. It's not like you don't have to know straight away or be afraid, but understand how the mechanics of being human, how that works, so that more and more you can make decisions around what you now want after you understand how it works. But to understand how it works, you need to like track it a little, like, or like learn from people who are doing that. Hey! I'm glad you're here. All right. So a ritual is showing your mind that now we're going to do something different. And then the mind gets ready, and it's like, this is in any case how I do ritual. I will have a way to tell my mind this, and then I'll, like, at the stone circle today, I can feel my higher self tell me, like, yeah, um, over there is where they used to walk towards the stones. And then I asked my friend what she thought was the direction in which people came into the circle. And so it's like a field, and it's been preserved somewhat well. Some of the stones are gone, and it's like one row of stones around an outside perimeter, and then there's a row of stones in the middle. I think there's like 7 pairs of stones, and then they have flat stones covering. And I think it's like 7. It should have like 7 covering stones, but some of them are missing. So yeah, she had actually another direction, but I could feel like my higher self was starting to prepare me, like, this is the thing that's happening. Like, I just keep, it's like I keep getting prepared for the next thing that's going to happen. So when my mind says, like, it just notices something, and I'm like, that's weird. And now I know it's always going to come back. This knowledge is always going to come back later. So yeah, my friend is also super spiritual. She has an energy field that just blows my mind. And also she has the same degree ascendant as me. Like, we're both 18 degrees Cancer rising. Like, how wild is that? How wild is it that you know someone that has the same 1 degree rising? It's like the chances are 1 in 360. Hello. um anyway, so she had something different, and so yeah, um I knew I was gonna make sound, and then I walked to the position that so she knows these stone circles really well. Like she's deep. She has like knowledge like rocks. Like I don't know how to tell you that, but like her, some people you can sense are like they hold information of the ages. So yeah, she's like that. um and yeah, so she was saying, yeah, well, I can understand that you have that sense. In fact, that is one end where one of the flat stones begins. And so anyway, I went there and she went to her place. We did our own ritual, and my higher self would just guide me through everything that was happening, and what I needed to do. And it was such a blessing. I had to let go of so many things. It was a very beautiful, like, cleansing thing, because it was wild, the things that I got to do. Like I got to like channel for some of the stones that were missing. I usually will sound like make sound and channel through sound and just listen to my sound. Um, and I can sense a lot of things. So then when I make sound, it's like I'm creating as well. So it's like a co-creation. And then as I'm listening to the sounds, I'm hearing a lot of things. And I don't really doubt myself anymore. That's like how, like, the presence of my higher self is, it just gives me this clarity. I'm just supposed to listen. I'm just supposed to follow. Um, and I'll hear my ego going like, "Oh God, but what if I'm wrong?" Blah 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 blah. You know, that monkey mind be playing like it's still a disco, like it's still going on. But um, yeah, I've trained myself to by just doing a lot, practicing a lot. When the moment calls, like, be there. And so yeah, I was traveling through the stone circle from stone to stone, and um, I also lay down in between two stones that had been removed. I could see and sense where they were, and um, I sensed that the elements were represented there, and then two of the elements had been removed. And there's like it, like people have told me this, that they feel this, that there's like pain, like as if the stones have emotion as well, and like they're hurt because like their brothers or sisters, like their kin was removed. And sometimes like having these emotions and just allowing them to flow, it kind of helps for the pain to be recognized and to kind of soften or be transmuted, at least in that moment. So this is something, of course, that we're also doing for each other, right? When we're recognizing each other's pain and just allowing the emotional information to flow through us. It really helps. And also to just, like, for like these stones, I make these sounds, and so it's like I'm making it very tangible that I recognize them. And with people, of course, you can say it. You can say, "Oh, I feel this and that emotion, and I'm really sorry that happened to you. I'm so glad you told me so that I could know you, you know." Um, and there's, yeah, sometimes we feel like, am I really allowed to share your emotion? Or the other person might feel like, am I not, um is like, is this even allowed? Am I allowed to burden you with my emotions? And it's like, please, let's understand that we're all in the same like field of life, and that emotions are energies that actually need to be shared. That's how they work. We're not like individual, yeah, of course we're like in this one body, but beyond our physical sense, we are emotional, and there's all these other subtle fields in which we are much more connected. We are much more supposed to like operate as one organism. And so if you ever see someone expressing their pain or their joy or anything, and you feel it coming into you, and like don't like make it yours, but it might touch you also because you have some like relevant experiences that are echoing in that emotion. But it's always really good to feel like, and to show if it's necessary, that you're connected to this person, you're connected in the field, and to really process beyond this this inflicted ideas that that we have to do it all alone, and we have to suffer by ourselves, and this loneliness is such a crisis. We're not supposed to be lonely like that. It's like it's not good for our being, it's not good for humanity. Anyway. So I was sharing that with the stones, and having to move through my own awkwardness or embarrassment or shame, like, am I even allowed to do this? But I know that's like just part of my human journey, and undoing so many generations of conditioning. So bless, yes. Here we are doing the work. And we're allowed to enjoy it and just be like wowed by everything that's going on. And I'm going to tell you something else that I was wowed by. I don't see myself as like, look at me, I'm so great, because I'm more and more, I'm realizing in humility, like, damn, we are all this amazing. Like, we are all this amazing. So I'm going to tell you my amazing story. That so I was at these stones, and then they told me, yeah, like, just don't go beyond this point, because that's enough for now. And I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna have FOMO. I'm not gonna have FOMO and want to run around the whole circle and be like, but I'm gonna do it anyway because, I'm me. And I'm gonna pretend I didn't hear those stones say that. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna honor that. And I honor my own energy, because my higher self also said, just listen to the stones. It's super simple. Um, and then the stones said, like, but I was sort of almost done with the channeling, and then it was like my feet got so warm. And like, have you heard of like the entity called Hermes? It's this Greek messenger god, and he has these wings on his ankles. His, her, they, I think it's a they, on their ankles, because Hermes is a hermaphrodite. Actually, that's where I think the word hermaphrodite comes from, the same root as Hermes. Um, um, and it's the same entity as is called Thoth, Thoth, Thoth. Um, and yeah, I was channeling with these stones, and then my ankles and my feet got really warm, and they were like, yeah, except you can just fly up to those stones, those, like, it's a little bit higher up, in the middle. And I was like, yeah, but I was supposed to not go further. And they're like, no, but you now have wings, so you're supposed to fly up there. And so I got up there, and like continued my whole sounding and feeling into it, and just letting everything flow and becoming part of the elements. And I stood there, and it was a while, and I could feel like as soon as I made these high pitched tones, like the wind was picking up. And I know I have had these experiences before, so it's like good. It's, for me, it's like super normal. But still, when I'm in my body and like I'm making a high pitched sound, and I can feel like the wind picking up, and like my hands starting to do these movements, and I'm like, yeah, I'm channeling. And there was this kind of, I could feel like this personage I don't know if it's been me in some other life or something. I don't know. But it was like, yeah, it was like all of the wind, and it was like there was light blue and white, and it was like my hair was white. And yeah, I felt like I have been here before. Like with the energy of the of Sirius and yeah, the Lion's Gate. Um this portal energy, and I was like standing there. Oh my gosh, I have photos. I think I'm gonna post them. But I was standing there and doing these things, and I was like at the back of my mind there's like me as an audience going like and also like the child in me just going like na 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 na, we're doing all these things and I know what to do. Woo. You know, it's like my personal disco. It's like, yeah, that's how that goes, and it's like serious but it's also fun. Serious. Yeah, yeah. And then there were people there and they were like respectfully waiting for me to finish. And then and then I got also this scene of like, I'm standing on top of these rocks. What are they gonna think, you know? And I just had to like, chill, dude. Witches aren't being burnt anymore. Hallelujah, 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 fucking luya. Like, I can't believe we're living in this time, and I allowed all of this energy to like fly me up there. Obviously, I just climbed, okay, but to fly me up there and be like, la, here I am doing the thing. And I could feel how much energy was passing through the stones, and I was just surrendered. Like, I get to do this, but it's a co-creation. There can be no ego saying like, it's me doing this. Look at me. Like, yeah, it can be fun like that, yeah. But I have like, ooh, I have so much reverence and gratitude that I get to be there and do that. Yeah, it feels like fun. It feels like amazing. Amazing. I have talked so much. I know. I gotta see how long I've had. Like almost an hour. All right, I'm gonna stick a little bit at the end because um I am human, and I feel like I'm being I'm being initiated into more and more emotion, and that is really where my strength lies and where I become more and more human, because I have been unhuman for like the beginning of my life. Like having to do things that I thought were actually impossible physically, and I had to survive. And also I started doing also many things that now I would say those aren't good things to do. There's so much stress involved in it, and I wouldn't want that on for anyone. And I also noticed that there are ways in which I be that I don't feel proud of. I really don't like it. Um, I feel embarrassed about. Um, and like, yeah, see how a kid, when they're like feeling really bad, they start rubbing their eyes. I have to acknowledge that there are so many ways in which I'm healing, and that I'm really, really proud of myself. And that even though I will feel shame and not good, and I have to revisit things that I did, even that I shared here, um, that I feel like doing that, I'm showing up and I'm showing off, like showing that we, like, if I can do it, I hope you can do it too. That I'm not gonna let my pride stand in the way of acknowledging or seeing that there are things that I do wrong, and that in order to live this life and in order to figure out what is better, to just get better at things, I will make mistakes all the time, and they will need to be like, it's important to see them and to not stop and like beat myself up. There I go, rubbing my other eye. And not beat myself up, even though it will feel really shitty, really shitty. I'm going to release a video. It's gonna be quite harsh, because it's about secrets and the way that I feel that we all could be showing up. And I just felt like when I exhibit a lot of fire, it's like it feels really true. And I think it is true to me. Oh, look, there's so much tension in my body right now. But but I also don't, I also feel like there's a time and a place for everything. And the softness is also where we really heal. Sometimes it's healing to be that, you know, that splashing sunlight, or even the fire or the lightning that, you know, that just burns away everything that's not true. And but the emotions are super different. You know, our body really needs to, like, I feel like probably the rest of my life I'll be helping the baby, the toddler, the child in me feel like it's safe to be on earth, feel like it's safe to discover the world, to discover my truth. And for that, I also need to take care of that part, and allow it to grow. And I'm also saying this because I also want you to know that the perspectives that I hold are just one, and they come from this, from such a incredibly survived life, and then now trying to heal that. And there are ways in which I am not mature, that that will just have to happen in this life while I'm doing this. But I'm not gonna wait, because I think it's okay, and I think it's good that there's also someone just expressing what life is like this, and what I'm learning. Yeah. And I hope that more and more we can connect with people that feel like tribe to us, and that it's our courage to be human, that gives each other that sense of permission, that yeah, you can be that too, and you know, I'm gonna make mistakes, and I'm gonna judge things that I then have to review, and people have to tell me like that wasn't so cool. You know, and the more and more we can stomach that, and process that, and compost that shit, the more we become like less painful assholes and more fun assholes. That enjoy life, and all of the incredible ways that we can be in life. Yeah, I guess if we can understand and embrace more of our darkness, we just get so much more humor, and yeah, maybe we'll find out that we're like these funky humans that yeah, discoed their way, and just got together and figured it all out, and had a good time and connected. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a blessed full moon. I hope I managed to make the shorts that I want to make, and it's gonna be all about swamp creatures. Well, blessings to you and all your swamp creatures, and as Holio, like, ooh, let's do this. Bye for now. See you next time.